everybody, welcome to yet another video. So this one today is on the Sagola 3300 GTO with the EPA cap, and it's in 1.8. so it's their primer version basically. I've done a few videos with the HVLP cap and with their other cap, which is the tech cap, which is normally the base and clear cap. So I'll put a link in the description. If you want to see those, then obviously you're welcome to. Also, while I'm at it, can I just thank everybody that's subscribing, and if you do like the videos, maybe you could think about giving us a subscription. It would help. Thanks very much. So there's various guises of this gun. There's a GTO EPA, which is this one, which is recommended in 1.6, 1.4 and 1.8 for higher build primers. They do a tech cap version, which is the other version I was telling you about, which is recommended for base and clear coat, normally in 1.3 or 1.4. They do the HVLP, which can be used with a variety of different tip sizes. They also do an Evo version, which is a wet on wet primer cap in 1.3 and 1.4 normally is what they recommend with that. They also do, which is probably not of much use to most people, but there will be uses for it, a cap called a 645, which is recommended for 2.2 and 2.8 millimeter tips, which is going to be for real thick materials. Not something I get into at all. So this is the 1.8 GTO EPA. Now we just wipe this fender down. I always use alcohol and water, depending on the time of year is the amount of water. This time of year, this was actually shot in August, about 18 degrees when I did this, so about 64 Fahrenheit. And I do a mixture of somewhere around 15% water and 85% rubbing alcohol, and I use that instead of degreaser because it tends to make much less static. I haven't got an anti-static gun or anything like that, so when you're doing big lumps of plastic, or relatively big lumps of plastic for me anyway, I tend to use that, and it tends to give me less trouble with static. So I thought I'd just say that just so that people know what I was doing. So with this gun, what you're getting is an extremely good gun. Now if you watch the other videos, and I'll say it in this video, the Sagolas are very, very well made. They're more agricultural than some guns, and that's not meant detrimentally at all. It's just that they're quite chunky, and the threads are big on the tips, and everything is just very well made to last for years and years and years. So yeah, if you're after something that's going to last well, then these are the kiddies. I've had this about a year and a half. I actually bought this in Spain. In Spain, at the time I bought this, it was 140 euros for this setup with a 1.8 with the EPA cap, which was an absolute bargain. They've since gone up. The place I got it from, they've since gone up. They're about 200 euros now. But in the UK now, these things are about 310 GB pounds, and I think in the States Sagola's expensive as well. Although somebody was telling me the other day in Australia they're actually quite a bit cheaper than they were. But there seems to be no real reason for all this pricing being so different, because if you're converting from euros in Spain, which is where it's made, and sending it to the UK, presumably you convert it to GB pounds or US dollars or Australian dollars or whatever you're doing, Canadian dollars, wherever you are, and you get the price. But it didn't seem like that at all. Sometimes it doubles. I mean, I had the same thing with I got a Silhouette Cameo cutter recently, and in the US I've seen people sort of like put in prices that they're sort of 250 US dollars. Yeah, over here they're about 350 GB pounds, which is equivalent to about 400 odd US dollars. So it doesn't, I mean, I didn't get mine in the UK actually, I got it in Spain, but it doesn't seem to make sense. But they do whatever they do. So shop around if you can get one, but the actual quality of this gun is superb. It's by far the best primer gun I've got. Now I haven't got such a range of primer guns. What have I got? I've got an AZ AZ4 air guns are, sorry, AZ3 air guns are. I've got a PRI Pro Light, which is probably my best primer gun, although they're quite expensive. The one I always recommend to people is the ANI F160, because that's a brilliant primer gun in 1.9 or 1.7. Really good primer gun and not very expensive. I've got the FLG5, which is okay. It served me well for about 6 years. I've still got it. But it was only then I started looking at different primer guns, and I realised that it actually wasn't as good as I thought maybe it was. But anyway, yeah, so I haven't got loads and loads of primer guns. I'm trying to think of some more, but there's videos about this gun. So I haven't got loads of primer guns, but I've got a reasonable amount, and this is by far the best. It seems to lay high build primer down really nice, and the idea of that obviously is it saves you time afterwards during the sanding stage. If you can get a better finish, it means less sanding, means you use less sanding discs and less time. So yeah, a really good primer gun. I would highly recommend it if that's what you're after. This is a U-Pole high build I use, and it's thinned down by about 5%. It's more or less as it came out the tin, and it's quite difficult to get something that will spray it properly. The PRI Pro Light with the PR10 cap seems to do okay with it. The F160 with the 1.9 tip seems to spray it really well, but this with the 1.8 is probably the best finish I've had off of using this primer. This was just a mix of 15% white with some black primer to give me good coverage for the paint that was going on this, which was a Honda colour. But it really did make it a joy to use, and I've used it quite a few times since then. Somebody told me the other day actually that they'd got a new Sagola, and the actual outer ring of the cap, so the bit you screw on that holds the cap to the gun, was now made of plastic, like a reinforced plastic, probably HDPE plastic. These aren't. These are actually aluminium. I know that because on one of mine it's got a slight mark where I brushed it against something, and it's just taken the black anodizing off, and you can see a small, it's too small to see on camera, but you can see a small mark, so you can see the aluminium underneath, and it is aluminium. And it you know, it's really well made. But if they are starting to do that, it would really, in my view, cheapen the gun, because they're now asking really good money for these guns, because I think you can get the DeVilbiss GP, is it the GPI I think it's called now, which is what they did was they scrapped a lot of the in-betweeny guns, like the version that I've got, which is the PRI Pro Light, was too expensive I think to make, because it's a Technopro Light body with just a different cap and different tip, etc. And I think it was getting a bit expensive, so they knocked the price down with the GPI, and it's effective the old GTI Pro body, not the Pro Light body. You know, it probably works just as well. I haven't got one, so I can't tell you, but I can tell you that this thing worked absolutely superb. You can see that it's given a really good finish. I need to do some sanding on it, which obviously is the whole idea of it anyway. But this you won't actually, well, you might be able to see slightly, but this is where the repairs have been done anyway, and you know, you can hardly see it, so it leaves me very little work, which is exactly what I'm after. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching, and this is a highly recommended gun, really nice to use. Shame it's getting more expensive now, but everything seems to be getting dearer. But if you can afford it and you can get it at a reasonable price, get one. Cheers guys, bye bye.